just go.
So does that account to why the profession is looked down?
Good. That is why, I can say 80%, if not even 90, low people in the society, like I can say it, because some people
low-minded.
Low-minded, because they have not had any formal training. So that is why people always look at us, the taxi drivers, as if we are the last in the society.
But then again, I have come across a few of them who sound polished, who are very eloquent, who are very, very insightful and very intelligent, I must tell you.
Yeah.
I remember when I had the opportunity of talking to you, I said, you don't even sound like a taxi driver. Maybe I have been stereotyped over the years that most taxi drivers are illiterate, but then there are people who are actually changing the narratives. We have taxi drivers who have a master's degree, who have the bachelor's degree, who are very educated in one way or the other. So do you think the illiterates, what the stunts, the pull, and the havoc, the cause, is actually wearing a bad attire or a bad image on even those that are actually educated?
Once you try to say that somebody is bad, that person is not bad completely. He has a good side, but once you say somebody is bad, means that the bad side is overshadowing the good side. Once you say somebody is good, means that the good side is overshadowing the bad side. Yeah, so majority of taxi drivers, they are low-minded people, as you say. We have some who are very, very educated, that if they stand here, you will not even know that they are taxi drivers. We have even teachers, we have profs in our sector. Yeah, so when they come, sometimes they look at us leaders, they want to try to intimidate us with grammar, forgetting to know that you don't go to school to learn grammar. Even in your home, you start, our language is grammar. So not everybody can be intimidated by grammar. You can intimidate me on your profession, like journalism,
because you don't know the art or the craft.
Yes, maybe in marketing, you can intimidate me there, but not on grammar, which is a common language, which is my language. So when we meet such cases, we know how to tackle them, because dealing with public is not an easy thing. You get to meet all types of people, like my divisionaire has said here, get to meet all kind of categories of people, because our sector is very, very sensitive, like I said it earlier, especially in this Boya municipality, because like the administrative of this town, especially our DO for Boya subdivision, he doesn't joke with our sector, because he knows how important, he knows how important our sector is. And he's a very good man, he's a very good administrator, young, vibrant. That's why sometimes we always say that if we have administrators like him, we won't be having too much problem in this country, because he's a down-to-earth man too. You can remember when the taxi had a hold up, we were sitting for a strike. He had to, because
of the numerous control posts.
Yes, he had to trek, I think, from Konjeka right down to checkpoint.
He trekked?
Yes, without minding that he's a divisional officer. He had to trek because everywhere was blocked. He trekked, came, spoke, we talked, he assured us, gave us his word, and they were implemented. That is why you see for some time now,
even if it was later on restored,
yes,
but at least for a period of time the change got effected.
Exactly. Not that the controls were eradicated.
Okay.
Yes, sometimes we have a bad seat in some certain calls, some certain organizations. They're not everyone, like journalism. We have bad journalists.
Of course.
Yes. True. So sometimes when we meet them on the road, the forces of law and order, sometimes you even like present yourself. I'm a president, I'm a secretary, I'm a vice president.
It still doesn't matter.
Yes, but le président de la République, tu es mon président. So when you tell a leader like that, how do you expect that leader to have respect on people they are leading? Yeah. So you have to bring chaos between the taxi sector and the police force. That is why you see that day it was very, very hot in town. But luckily for the good administrator that we have, he has to tackle that problem with a lot of diplomacy and peace was restored.
I think it's really going to be a huge appetizer for us to look into some circumstances that arise from the commercial driver versus passenger conflict. It's very important, Mr. Jude, that we look into some of these reasons behind the crisis that emerge. I, one too many times, have been into conflict with even commercial drivers. Some, you tell them, I have 500. And when you're alighting, you give them the 500 out of maybe 1,000. They'll say, you did not say. You know, be tell me say. And they'll curtail a huge amount. And we also have a recent malpractice, a recent mishap, where, especially happening to kids and women, the vulnerable population, when you give the taxi driver your money, he's going to tell you to step down and he's going to give you a change. And you know, in the course of you trying to position yourself, getting the change, he zooms off. So with all of these, let's begin with the crisis that emerged between commercial driver and passenger. What do you think are the main, you know, springing factors of some of those crises?
Thank you. You know, we've been having tensions between drivers and the passengers on a daily basis, but nonetheless, we don't relent our effort to keep educating both the drivers and the passengers. You know, the profession of this taxi driving profession does not require any long and costly period of training. You just need to know how to drive and then do it as hustling. Before now, taxi drivers were looked upon as the last people. But as time changes, we realize that people who have more intelligence or educated and people of good morale are entering. So gradually we know that it is changing. It's not like before. But first, in our usual programs like this, we educate passengers. When you get into a taxi, first the taxi has an official price, which is 300 during the day and 350 during the night. That is from 10 p.m. So, but the driver, the passenger reserves the right to propose what he or she can pay at that moment, depending on other circumstances like the distance, the time, and so on.
And if the passenger doesn't propose, what happens?
If the passenger doesn't propose, even if he gives you the 10,000 francs, you have just the right to reduce to take your normal fare, which is 300. But in most cases,
can we give a vivid case in point? I say I have 500 and I'm going to checkpoint. This is Malingo. We know that is just a trekking distance, just an arm's length, and I do not propose, but unconsciously I know that it's no distance, it's just 100, and I give you that money. So at that point, because I failed to propose, are you going to take the normal tariff of 350?
No, it depends on the taxi driver. It depends on the driver. Yeah. The driver can just say, okay, this maybe it's a short distance, you can take 200, you can take 150, you can take 250. But he has the full right to take 300 francs. That is his right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that is his right. You know, taxi fare is 300 francs, as my boss said here, in the day, 350 in the night. When there is no negotiation, that is, it's 300. When there's no negotiation, but tariff is negotiable. That is why you see people propose, and it is also the right of a taxi driver to tell you if he wants to carry you both 300 francs. Like for example, you can stand in my 17 and you are going to Bukwango. It is the right of a taxi driver to tell you, say, madam, you pay 400, you pay 500.
Outside the normal tariff?
Yes,
because we know that they are
above the normal tariff.
Okay.
It is his right to inform you. But some passengers are very, very wise. Someone can stand from, like I once had that case. Someone stand from, carry somebody from Minya, or went to Bukwango. Right at the end, he removed 300 francs and gave me. I said, well, madam, you know, correct. See, the taxi fare is 300 francs and you know it.
Good.
No, I didn't argue. I just say it's okay.
But do you know some of your colleagues?
It was my error.
Some of your colleagues will even throw tantrum and even threaten to get into a fist with even the passengers.
Exactly. That is why we always advise, when we are in platforms like this, we advise all the public that once you have any quarrel with a taxi driver, any misunderstanding, just stop arguing. Take the number
plate and come to me.
Yes, take the number. I will also advise, when you are taking a number, Forget about that Southwest, the series that start that Southwest. Take but those 3 digits and the last alphabetical number. They are always the last alphabetical letters. They are always 2. Like 1, 2, 3. Then you have A, B, O, A, C, O, C, J. Yes, those ones are important. Take those 3 digits and those 2 alphabetical numbers. Come to any drivers union of your choice. Like we in FADU, we have several cases that we have treated, and there are people who can attest to that. You can never come to a drivers union, especially to FADU, and your problem is not being resolved to your satisfaction.
Well, we are going to look into the inner crux of that. We are going to be investigating how much FADU have been, committed towards doing, and if they have some cases untreated, and if a little bit of politics is within FADU, but that is just one of the cases, just a strand amongst the many other cases that we get to deal with.
Yes, still talking about different antagonisms between passengers and drivers. Some drivers are dishonest, just like passengers. Sometimes it becomes they say a match when a mafia passenger gets into a mafia driver's taxi. So sometimes when they clash, they have to settle it with muzzles, which we don't approve of it. Sometimes we used to advise passengers, and always, if you get into a taxi, the first thing you propose before you get in, you propose while
audible.
Yes, audible. You propose while still stopping the taxi.
Outside.
You don't get inside and propose. Sometimes it gets some drivers furious because some people, passengers will enter and say the car is already moving. Driver get 200.
But what is the difference if it's not within your convenience? You just let the passenger go down.
That taxi is time.
Let me explain. This is the public should get this. You don't propose while you're already consuming.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like you go to a restaurant, they serve you food. You taste, we say, Madam, plate now more. They say 2.5. You say no. I'm not buying for 2.5.
Because
again at 1,000, you must pay.
Normal circumstances, when the car moves even one step, if you are dropping, it's a drop.
Exactly. It's a drop.
Oh,
if
really?
you are choosing to drop, you should pay. Yes, that's what most passengers don't understand. So you propose, you have an agreement, an accord. You have already it's a contract, because you told the driver,
it's a contract.
I have 300 or 200 in 500. Even if you said 100 in 500, if he accepts, you know that's where we caution passengers not to go out of the contract. If you know it's not at their convenience, don't take it. If you accept, fine. Don't bring argument at the destination. This one of the situations we always have again is that some passengers, before they get to their destination, maybe the driver has found a passenger, maybe somebody wants to hire him, and he wants the passenger to drop. There he's breaching the contract.
Yes.
In
And
that case, what is supposed to happen?
sometimes even passengers do understand. You can beg politely. They know that things are hard. Well, madam, please,
I've seen this
I've
person.
seen this person. You know, things are hard.
Some will even reimburse you.
Yeah.
You step down and then they'll reimburse you.
at that
Ask
No, you
you.
don't even pay.
At that point, you don't even have the right to pay.
Yeah, you don't have the right to pay.
Because he has breached your contract. You are not
Only-
at your destination. And even where he is dropping you, you don't know, maybe you are avoiding, or it's not safe for you, or things like that. So we always advise, even if you are taking such, try to drop the passenger at
in a safe
a
place.
safe junction, and where you will easily pick up a new taxi.
Okay.
Yes, so we treat passengers like king, except for those who are very unprofessional, who have no integrity.
Okay, we look at another now, ladies and gentlemen. We are trying to, recall and bring some of these factors, dear televiewers, why some of this crisis that is always stirred up between commercial drivers and passengers, why it's always constantly on the rise. And that is why the professional commercial drivers here and transporters are revealing some of these reasons before we get into further steps into the matter. We also have another case where a driver may want to take another court which is outside your jurisdiction or outside your job. For instance,
understand what
going
you mean.
to checkpoint. The driver might want to pass through NFC and go round and pass
I
round.
understand.
And sometimes I have been in situations where there is chaos between driver and passenger. And most times while I'm eavesdropping, I even get to put my voice and say, driver, you are wrong. You are wrong, you're wrong. So in that case, how does a syndicate come in to address that?
You know, madam, all this is we're coming to that as part of the tension that always arises. You know, Boya, people are of this municipality are too much acquainted to one lane street going up, but taxi is speaking from one drop to another. In as much as you don't turn,
You don't go out of
you
the
don't go
satellite
out of the satellite zone
zone.
taxi. For instance, you
By
just
that, what do you
mentioned one
mean,
example,
satellite?
because when you have satellite zone, it means there are roads that are meant for taxis.
Okay.
If you are going out of that road and maybe going to drop somebody in the quarter, and you are inconveniencing the other passenger and you don't know what you are consuming his time, it doesn't go. But if, for instance, you are coming from, you are going to Sopo, you agree with me that Bakwetan is Sopo, Campaign Street is Sopo. So if you have to pass through Bakwetan to get to Royal Pharmacy, some passengers will tell you that they are in a haste. So we always advise them, if you are taking a commercial taxi, know that there are other passengers that they have to drop. If you think you cannot bear it, just hire that taxi.
Simple.
Yes, but we also educate drivers that you cannot go through, for instance, Bakwetan and still go through Campaign Street. It will be time consuming for
When
others.
somebody's dropping at Bongo
Yes,
Square.
but that is when we educate them. You can enter through Sandpit and continue with the straight lane, or you go through OIC on the
Campaign
straight
Street.
lane, pass through yes. To
Okay,
have,
so in that case, there is no need to inform the passengers.
you don't need to inform the
No,
passenger.
because it's a taxi in
Yes,
town.
it's a
Now,
taxi.
I have seen situations where
Let me just make you can only inform the passenger if maybe you are going to checkpoint and you carry another passenger that
Going
wants
to
to
UB.
enter. Yes, UB. You inform
Because
the
you
passenger.
turn.
Yes, or you are entering into Malingo, the quarter. You inform that person, but not everyone will accept that I'm going somewhere. Take me and enter into a quarter, because you don't know what can happen in that quarter.
okay, so in that
Yes.
case, between that discrepancy between transporter and passenger, I don't want you to get into UB, I don't want you to get into the quarter. What do you do?
Well, you let the passenger take another taxi.
Yes.
Yes, let the passenger take another taxi. It is your right to stop. But we always advise, if maybe you are going to Bongo Square from Malingo, always ask the driver, will you enter Sandpit? Will you enter Campaign Street? Some people always ask like that. If you are so much in a hurry, ask whether you are entering maybe somewhere or you are going straight. But if you don't ask, it is the driver's right maybe to pass through that road or pass through that road.
And
Or
also
it
with
is-
passengers, if you feel like the taxi from Bongo Square, for instance, is going through Campaign Street and it's not convenient for you, it is your choice to stop, but know that you have to pay, because the driver is not going out of the taxi satellite zone. There are two roads he has chosen to pass to use the other one. It's not like he's going to drop someone and then you come back the same direction before continuing. No, it continues through another branch to the main road. So in most cases, we passengers are also advised that maybe you want to drop, at least compensate even with
Something.
even if it's a coin.
That one now is a human feeling.
Yes, and that's why you asked a question that if a passenger board a taxi and says he has 500 and does not propose within a short distance, does the driver have the right to pay? We always advise drivers. We are conscious. We know which distance can cost how much. For instance, I cannot carry a passenger within Monaco. It's a short range, and want to take 300. You know that times are hard. This boya is made up of mostly students. It's a safe haven for those who have been running head getters. We have students, we have petty traders, we have those kind of people. You know, people who are rich always have their cars. You see someone taking a taxi, you know that he is also a struggling person too. So we don't want that idea of taking too much from a passenger. But then, if the driver does not want to consider, the passenger has no right to quarrel him because he has not taken more than the fare.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, televiewers, and I hope that you watching from afar, you are following and getting every juice that the program is bringing to you this evening. And just to remind you that the program on board is Matters, and I am your host, Mabel Camden, and today we are looking at hate speech within the commercial driving milieu, the commercial driving sector. And I came with two commercial drivers who are enough for the program, and they are giving us a roller coaster of a ride, and they are painting the program tonight very colorful. And I know that wherever you are, you're enjoying all the beauty and all the fragrance that the program is giving. Of course, it's well deserving of your time this evening. We have touched on so many factors as to why tension arises between passengers and taxi drivers and the syndicates, their involvement into some of these casualties that arises. And now we are going to be talking and touching on some illicit and mishap that has been recorded in recent times. While we are talking about verbal assaults, we should not also turn our eyes away from some of the mishappenings that has been happening and that maybe your syndicate might have or might have not recorded within recent times. But I know that it has been on almost every lip that some taxi drivers make away with people's money when they step down to receive their change. Have you received that in your syndicates? Has it been a constant worry that has driven into your office?
Yes. If there's any syndicate who say that he has not received such a case, then that syndicate must be lying, because those are common things, and we have been fighting against such attitude, and I can tell you confidently that those things have reduced. They have reduced drastically, because at first you hear, hey, my money don't run, my money, this one, and when the driver comes, we have to penalize that driver. We have our own way with disciplined drivers. Like I said earlier, that if you bring your problem, your worries to our syndicate, be rest assured that you will be satisfied, especially when you are on the right. If you are on the wrong, we will still tell you that, madam, sir, this is where you went wrong, because you can be doing something out of ignorance. Thinking that you are on the right track. But when you come, like most of us, we are in a quarter, we know the law. But when we reach the court, that's when we know the real law. Yes. So we always advise people, like I said earlier, if you have a problem, such cases, that's why we over advise. If you are not in a hurry, don't take a taxi that hasn't any badge or door number. Door number can be difficult for some people to take note of that. But when you enter, there's a badge on there, and those badges, they have a series there. Like for when you enter into the badge, we have magical. They always start with F. F is Fadu. We have another alphabet E. We have a D. We have J. Those are different syndicates. But when you see F, you know that is Fadu. So once you take that, when either you see F245 or you see A345 or you see J3 something.
No, it stands for the different syndicate.
Different syndicate. So once you just see that letter and the number, that's all.
Let's re-examine this issue of badges. Taxi drivers who ply the road without badges, does that mean that they are not identified to any commercial driving or drivers union, or is it that they are illegal drivers, or what accounts for people driving in yellow cars, which we know are commercial cars, and then they go without identification badges?
All right, not all illegal driver, as you rightly said. Some have applied for the badge, and the badge is under production, so they have receipts. They have the receipt. If we, the leaders, we stand to check, they will show us the receipt. But some, they have not even passed through any syndicate. Those are unidentified drivers who we are against them. because those majority of them, those are the one causing atrocity in our sector, because they know that they cannot be traced, they cannot be identified. But you who has a badge hung in front of your taxi, it is difficult for you to create problems or do away with somebody's change, because you know that you can easily be identified. So those ones that have no badges in front of their taxi, as I've said, maybe some of them, their badges are under production, and some they are just intruders, as I can say.
Okay, let's talk about some malpractices of taxi drivers. Besides arrogantly speaking to their customers, because passengers are customers, of course, there's no gainsaying about that. What are some of those illegal or obnoxious practices that they invest or commit into? Some maybe alcohol or cigarette.
Yeah, it is our moral responsibility as a trade union of transport or syndicate or union to guarantee safety and security. That is why we've been having workshops and trainings organized by the government to train the workers or the executive, the officials of the drivers union. So there is a lot in the process. We know we have to identify vehicles, identify drivers through their badges, and identify even the cars through their door numbers. So notwithstanding, we'll be having a lot of challenges, so many challenges, like we have drivers who are drug addicts. Yes, sometimes we witness so many cases that a driver gets into a taxi already drunk or have taken tramadol, and then they end up causing, and they drive recklessly and cause accident, or even at the slightest approach, he starts up with a fire. So we used to tell them, sometimes even the accessories they hang on their vehicles, like horns, that is not legally installed by the manufacturer, with multiple sounds. Sometimes some lights that are halogen, that can cause accident and things like, all those are part of insecurity, malpractices. And
what about TVs in taxis?
No, normally the TVs in taxis are required to be at the back seat
and not at the front.
Yeah, because it is a distraction
to the driver.
But radios especially, it's an obligation to be in a taxi, because the taxi driver has to be informed. The taxi driver has to be the first person to give you any news, that is, or to orientate you on what is happening.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, because you can get into a town, you see an old elderly person is coming from a corner, and he tells you that he's going for a funeral at Cape Street, and he'll tell you that that man is from maybe Bambwe or so. If you are a taxi driver and you are working on that day, you should be able to know that there is a ceremony there. There is something happening at Monte Hotel. There is a program at the Moliko Stadium or things like that. You don't have to be dumb.
So when it comes to information.
And that's why when you enter into a taxi, even if something happened, like today, I was coming down and I carried one guy who was asking me, they will always ask you a question, that the child was abandoned in a taxi. Yeah. And I was getting to know about it for the first time. I did not have any information about that. So I had to contact the other members to know what is happening.
Yeah, I think they are a handful. Besides that, which other malpractice?
Sometimes a passenger can get into a taxi and he says, I have 5,000 or a huge amount of money that will require change. Some drivers who have that spirit already calculated to go away with the money.
Or you can forget your luggage.
Their luggage.
Yes, in the trunk,
yes.
And the driver goes away
go
and will not come to the syndicate to keep them, or maybe
especially if it's valuable.
Yes, or to a TV show or radio station to keep them. They goes away with it. We had some cases like that. One guy, I think he's in waiting trial now, he took somebody's laptop and went away with it.
That's serious.
Yes, so when the person comes to the union, he had to explain the taxi, describe. In his description, the syndicate was able to trace that taxi. So,
even sometimes people use taxis to do this theory.
What's that?
To pickpocket.
Pickpocket.
Yeah, so that is.
I think in Douala and some other.
Even here.
So we have that here,
yes,
but
we've apprehended many.
we'll
But
further
now
against that.
I think it is done, because that is why we used to talk of identification, and the union embarked on identifying drivers, especially in the evening. Drivers, taxis will leave Mutengene and other towns. They are circulating in the town. So we have our vigilant men. When they see a taxi that is not registered under Buea, you are apprehended instantly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we must know your mission. You hear they popularly call it our station, and sometimes when they will say shift. We used to educate passengers. Shift, hold this mirror, your chair is moving. Once they start telling you that, you should be very conscious.
Just drop.
Yes, and when they say drop, when you're not at their destination, know that they have already taken money. You have to take your time. Yes, and sometimes you give money, you want to take change, you are outside waiting for change. We always advise at least 5 minutes before you drop, give your money and ask for change.
At least 5 minutes before you
Yes.
drop. Some of them will tell you they don't want to get distracted.
No, you remain in the car.
This is your right to remain in the car.
Why are you supposed? Some people even drop. They have the money in their hand, that mentality. They drop and go run to come and stand where at the risk, quite close to the
road.
carriageway. Yes, to take their change. You are supposed to take your change handy, and even to drivers, have your taxi fare in your hand, because they get to a destination
before they start searching their bags.
Now God, sometimes with that anger, some taxi drivers are not patient. When you give him 500, 1,000, he just keep like a punishment to you. So give your,
which is a crime.
Which is a crime.
Yeah, it's a crime. We are against that.
Pay your fare in a taxi and have your change before you drop. As simple as that. And be very sensitive. If you find strange people or strange behavior in a taxi, the
Just
first
drop.
thing, you either drop, and before you even drop, look at the badge number, and even when you drop, look at the car number.
The car number.
Yes. Once you have those two numbers, even if the person lives under the soil, will get him.
The badge number and the car number.
Yes. So the union has always been the first security for the passengers and the driver.
So within which time are we expected to get this number? Because it's a very smart move. You know, before you want to get your change, the man is already zooming off. So between what time actually, before you get into the taxi, or when the man is in the run?
Once
When
you
you are
get into the
into a
taxi,
taxi,
cultivate that habit of looking whether there's a badge
yes,
in front.
and you have the right to
Anytime.
question if there
And
is
you
no
have
badge.
the right. Now, driver,
Yes.
why you not get badge? Why
Yes.
aren't you at the
And you have the
badge?
right to drop. Even
Yes,
if there is no
that-
badge
it's your right
for your
to drop.
security, and you don't pay anything.
Once the driver maybe answer you rudely, bad now wait, tell that driver to drop you. It is your right. When he insists, just take that number. There are many people who have our numbers. I mean the public. Yes, they have drivers unions. The leader, they have their numbers. Once they get into maybe a conflict with drivers, they just call or they take their number, they bring it to the syndicate.
Maybe this is a point where I start asking what the syndicate has been doing. And first and foremost, are the syndicates synchronized? Are they unanimous? Is there a harmony between the syndicates? Because I hear Sinchokam, I hear Fadu, I hear, variant syndicates. Are you people harmonized?
Yeah, initially, in every sector, there must be some level of disagreement, unnecessary rivalry and competition and things like that. It got to a point where we thought we should harmonize the syndicates in Buea, and we created a very powerful institution to govern all the syndicates. That was titled the Memorandum of Understanding, and this movement was initiated right at the level of the DO in the security meeting, because there was this fighting among syndicates. So fortunately, it was organized thanks to the presence of Mr. Tar Richard. He was still the Secretary General of FADU, and Mr. Ebenchu, then he was the Secretary General of Sishkam. So 4 syndicates that were already existing in a warfare became that is one. So I happened to be the pioneer chairman of the memorandum. just like you said, they think taxi drivers are not educated. Even the constitution and every document that we need was written by myself with the assistance of the Secretary General. And everything was well defined, even to an extent to discourage the other syndicates from coming in and doing disorder. So even some articles had precised on how other syndicates should join the memorandum, because the 4 syndicates now joined to control more than 7,000 members together. So no president could go out alone, or no syndicate could go out alone. But unfortunately, as you always have it, some leaders who were very egoistic and needed that position at all costs.
Bottlenecks.
Yes, so started fighting and then condemning the memorandum and even trying to implicate the chairman. You see, so because it had to at one moment it was already risky for some of us, so the memorandum was dissolved.
Okay, I want us to be more pragmatic than theoretical on the program. You keep saying, Mr. Richard here, and one watching would think that these defaulters are screwed up big time. Have you had a situation where a taxi driver was penalized or screwed up or brought to book, and what was the offense and how was that particular offense addressed?
Okay, like first, we live in a big town, in a city, a major city, as you said, that you don't know who is who in Buea. Sometimes you see one little lady like you, somebody can see you on the road, will not know that maybe you're a big time journalist or you belong to a good organization. One driver met